Hi guys, my name is Kat and today I'm going to show you how to balance a gimbal. A gimbal is a piece of equipment that uses a combination of motors and sensors to support and stabilize a camera. We have various models available for hire, but you'll mainly be using a Zhiyun Crane 1, 2 and 3. The heavier your camera, the higher the model number you will need. I'm going to show you how to balance one today using a Crane 2, but the process is essentially the same for any model. When your camera is attached to a gimbal and you move around, the gimbal's sensors send information into an internal computer which calculates how much counter movement is needed to keep the camera stable and level. First things first, you will need to check its battery life. You don't want to start with dead batteries. With that said, you need to balance the gimbal with the power turned off, so don't turn it on yet. Next, take a guess at where the camera's balance point is, screw on the plate and slide it in so that the weight is evenly over the front and the back. Make sure the lens support isn't rubbing up against the control rings, and make sure the camera is screwed onto the plate very tightly, as it's the only thing stopping it from flying away. With the camera on the plate, slide it in until you hear a click. You can secure this with the screws on the side. At this point, you have to set the camera up into the exact state it's going to be when you start filming. So the lens cap needs to be off, the SD card needs to be in, and any filters need to be screwed on. The screen needs to be out and roughly at the angle you'll be shooting at so that you can see your image. This will usually be tilted with the screen slightly facing up. The zoom should also be at the right setting because the lens will extend or retract depending on how zoomed in you are, and this will affect the weight distribution on the camera. Take the camera off the gimbal and reposition the placement on the plate if you believe this camera's centre of gravity has changed now that you've changed any of these settings. The goal now is to get the camera to stay at the angle that you put it. We're going to isolate each of the three axes individually and balance them one at a time. The pan adjustment should be moved to align the centre of gravity of the camera and the handle of the gimbal. You also want the sensor to be around about over the centre of the handle. The sensor is marked by a symbol with a dot with a line through it. If the camera is tilting forward, then it's too heavy at the front, and the opposite if it's tilting backwards. You can adjust this to some degree while the plate is mounted on the gimbal, but for bigger adjustments, don't be afraid to readjust the camera's positioning on the plate. If you test this and the camera seems to swing like a pendulum, it means that the bottom of the camera is too heavy. If the camera tries to roll upside down, it means that the top is too heavy. If this is the case, adjust the arm to move the camera up or down. If it keeps swinging like a pendulum, increase the height of the camera. If it's rolling upside down, decrease the height of the camera. Finally, let's adjust the roll axis. If your camera seems to be leaning towards the right, move the axis to the left. And if the camera seems to be leaning to the left, move the axis to the right. With that done, you can check that the balance is correct by placing the camera in a random position and seeing if it stays there. If it doesn't, figure out which area of the camera isn't balanced and adjust that axis accordingly. You might be thinking, the whole point of a gimbal is that its motor keeps the camera in the position I want it to be at. Why must I do all of this manually? Well, the motors can only do so much, and if you're able to get the balance perfect, then this will make the amount of work that the motors have to do far less, which will make your shots much smoother. With everything balanced, switch it on and you should be ready to go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.